Hey everybody, from Beantown to your town. This is the Beantown
Beatdown.
Matthew Burris here.
Gabe Shamus.
That's right. I have been officially clean and sober for 3 months now.
Cheers to that.
Oh yeah. New Year's Eve, man, I'm gonna go straight crazy.
Ripping it apart. Why not?
Yes.
Why not? You've earned it.
Oh
man.
yes, definitely have earned it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into it. First for some headlines. First and foremost, Conor McGregor beat Jose Aldo, knocked him out in 13 seconds.
13 seconds. That's got to be even for Ronda, that's got to be a record,
Ronda was at 14, I think. 14. Yeah, 14, and
okay.
but yeah, it was a good fight, and I actually saw this fight. I actually had the privilege of watching this fight over at the Causeway Bar, which is now showing UFC fights, and over in near North Station.
All right, awesome. You heard it here first, folks. He was trying to get a place to watch, for the MMA fights in Boston.
Yeah, because it was just so hard to find a place to watch fights.
Mm-hmm.
And it was you had to go all the way out to Buffalo Wild Wings or go out to Dave and Buster's out there in Brighton and Brockton, and there's no way I could get out there.
Right, exactly. So it was partly because of you coming on the show, and talking about it. I think that you got the ball rolling.
Yeah.
So good on you.
Yeah, and it was a good night. I mean, every fight on that card was awesome. I had some cheese fries, and they really do make some good cheese fries if you ever go there.
Sweet.
And, I mean, McGregor, he just went in there and just, bam! Nailed him with a straight left to Jose Aldo. Aldo just fell flat on his face.
Man.
Oh, yeah, it was an excellent fight. And
would you say it's a classic takedown?
Takedown, it was a knockout punch.
Knockout punch. What are some of the other best knockout punches?
You mean as far as MMA or just all around combat sports? Let's see. Well, I would have to say it was the straight right hand that Lennox Lewis gave to Mike Tyson. That was a good punch. I would also have to say the one punch knockout Tyson did to Michael Spinks. And as far as also in the UFC, another knockout is, although this wasn't a punch, it was a one kick knockout, Anderson Silva doing the front kick to Vitor Belfort.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and also on the undercard, Chris Weidman lost the middleweight title to Luke Rockhold. And that fight went 4 rounds, and at one point, Weidman went for a spinning hook kick, and he missed, and Rockhold went to take him down. And everybody was like, whoa, what was he doing? What was he trying there? I mean, it was like, you could tell this, I mean, I know he has a striking coach and all, I mean,
right.
But, it was just like, this guy clearly is not a striker. His striking is clearly not on the same level as Luke Rockhold's. Yeah, and Rockhold dominated him with ground and pounds, elbow punches to the face, cut him out open, and stuff like that.
Shit, yeah.
And it was just an amazing night of fights. Of course, it's going to be a little hard to get home now because the MBTA has, they're going to get rid of the late night services on the weekends.
Son of a biatch. I knew it was coming. When they cut it back to 1 hour, it was like, oh, son of a biatch. It's, 2 o'clock's good, but, it's still pretty close to the 1 o'clock cutoff. And I guess I had to accept it.
Well, yeah, because they said it's not, because, like, they can't run a late night service with the buses. So it's like they're gonna stop that now. And it's just like, oh, jeez. So I guess I'll have to not only save up money to go to the bar when I want to go see the fights, because I actually have to pay a $15 cover charge. You have to pay a $15 cover charge. It was worth it. But now, now you got to pay a $15 cover charge. You gotta have money for food and drinks, and on top of that, I'm gonna need some money to take a cab.
Shit.
Yeah.
Well, let's not let that get us down. Let's go on to the next headlines.
Yeah, I guess, beggars can't be choosers in this situation.
Right.
Also, new fighting promotion premiering. I talked about it here on this show. Ryzen Fighting Federation. It's going to be debuting on Spike TV.
Nice.
Yep, Spike TV. On the day of New Year's Eve. It's going to be taking place from Japan, and really bringing it back to the old school Japanese MMA with Pride and Senjoku and Dream. They always do a show on New Year's Eve, and
yeah, I was gonna say it is interesting that it's like the last day of 2015. They're really rocking it out, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, actually, they're doing a show on the 30th, and they're going to do another show on the 31st. And
still the last day of 2015.
Oh, yeah. And, which also gives me a good reason to drink in the morning.
Well, did you really need that? No, just kidding.
Oh, yeah. Come on. It's New Year's Eve. It's my day, it's going to be my first day drinking since being sober for all those months and weeks.
Exactly.
So, I already had that day planned out. I'm going to be watching Ryzen Fighting Federation. I'm gonna be watching Big East College Basketball Marathon that they always do on New Year's Eve. So I'll be drinking some Mad Men, which is my own special kind of drink, and also have some Red's Apple Ale. I'm gonna sober up for a bit. I'm not gonna drink too much, and then I'm gonna go out for New Year's Eve, where I'll be doing most of my eating and drinking.
Awesome.
And also, if you're not...
Interesting that you have a drink called Mad Men, but you won't watch the show that much yet. That's my 2 cents on the matter.
Well, I've seen a little bit of the show.
You've seen a little bit. You've given it a chance. But you still think that... in my opinion, you still think that... we've talked about this. That Draper is basically a jerk, which I think if you watch it more, you won't. Once you have a nuanced opinion about all the characters, then
I understand.
Then you've watched it enough.
No, I understand. I understand Don Draper. It's more, it's more of a a love-hate relationship thing. It's
right.
It started with Tony Soprano, and then with Draper, and then.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about these shows.
Most
of them, it's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, now with Lucius Lyons on Empire, nowadays...
Yes, which I'm going to be getting into, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it started. And also, if you're not busy for New Year's Eve, you can come with me.
All right.
Yeah, we'll stay out late and actually have some pancakes. some pancakes over at IHOP.
Oh, yes. I always wanted to do that. The 4 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. pancakes.
Yes.
Awesome.
And going back to the UFC, this is Ronda Rousey really has been in a funk since losing to Holly Holmes. I mean, she had a surgery for her mouth. She says it's going to take 3 to 6 months before she can eat solid foods.
No, Lord.
Yeah, so she won't be able to eat. She won't be able to bite into an apple. Yeah,
that's crazy to think about those types of things. I mean, you think about what happened to her reputation, and that's whatever. People can argue about that, but what happened to her face. That's something you usually don't think about.
Yeah, and also she's been, she has been seeing on TMZ. TMZ has catched her walking outside. She was at a Marines ball. She went to the Marines ball that she promised the soldier she would go to.
Yeah.
She was seen smiling, and she seems to be in a little bit of a happier mood now. But
sorry, I'm getting a call. New technology. What are you gonna do?
New technology. Yeah. But also I read the article in ESPN magazine, and she has stated that she has no choice but to fight. For this rematch, she has to win.
Right.
And she says that if she loses this rematch, she could retire.
Yeah, and that's crazy to think about. Think about where she was. Just like I said last time. Think about where she was half a year ago.
Yeah,
and
but
like before that, she was definitely racking up all the wins, all the championships, until this happened. So was she actually defending her title? That's something I watched the match. Was she defending her title at that point?
yeah, she was.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was, and I mean, of course, Holly Holm, ripped her apart,
Mm-hmm.
and the thing is, and of course, like Holly Holmes has gotten a lot of attention too. I mean, she was at the Miguel Cotto Canelo Alvarez fight,
Yeah.
which Alvarez won. She was at Aldo and McGregor. She was there.
Mm-hmm.
She's been on Colin Cowherd's The Herd on Fox Sports 1. She's been on ESPN First Take. She's been to a Clippers game. She actually met Jay-Z and Beyonce, and she's been everywhere. And actually,
Right.
yeah, also in Albuquerque, New Mexico, they've actually held a parade for her.
Really? Oh man. Oh
Yes.
man. Well, I mean, you can't not expect it from her. You know what I mean? You can't not expect that she would then be, basking in the limelight. She found her way to fame for now, depending on what happens in July, right?
Right. And the rematch will take place July 9th, UFC 200.
Mm-hmm.
And this fight is really do or die for Ronda because there are no other female weight divisions in the UFC. There's bantamweight and then there's strawweight. That's it.
Yeah, this is something I was asking you before the show. I was asking, you think it's different with the male fighters because, in theory they could, bulk up and, go up to the next weight? Is that
to a certain point. To a certain point. But, I think because, the women's bantamweight division, it's been dominated so long by Ronda.
Mm-hmm.
I think, the women's bantamweight division still has some long ways to go to see some new champions and stuff like that. The strawweight division is new as well. I mean, Carla Esparza was the first champion from the season of The Ultimate Fighter. She won the Ultimate Fighter season finale and became the champion. And Joanna Jędrzejczyk, she won. She beat her in her first title defense, and she's defended the title twice now, I believe. Yeah, twice now, and has won. That is still a new division. That's still a new female weight division.
Right, exactly.
So there won't be any female weight divisions in a long time.
Mm-hmm. We talked about this last time. I mean, what other fighter, even the male fighters, what other fighter has been on these Hollywood shows? What other fighter has gotten attention from not just ringside, but a range of magazines? What other fighter has done the type of things that she's done? Not many.
Well, Conor McGregor leading into the fight with Aldo, he was getting a little mainstream exposure. He was on Jimmy Kimmel.
Okay, yeah.
They were talking. He's been all over on TMZ, and also TMZ Sports, which is on Fox Sports 1. And I've been watching it. Harvey Levin is doing a bang up job with that.
Nice.
Yeah. I know people will say oh, these people at TMZ, why don't they get a life? They're always following celebrities.
Someone else. Well,
yeah, but
they do a good job of it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. But this fight, it's literally do or die for Ronda. I mean, After this fight, if she loses, she'll be done, and I don't think she'll have many acting roles. If she loses the rematch,
we were talking about this too. So is it that she's dependent on her fighting fame, for all these roles that she's gotten? Because that's not a traditional way to do it. If you go into something like the WWE, where it's completely different, it's more about entertainment, whatever. The Rock was able to do that, and I was asking you, did The Rock have to keep up his fighting career? Or did he not when he started getting big in movies? Did he have to not lose? Was the same pressure on him?
No, it wasn't on him because it wasn't considered because it's not considered a real sport. It's entertainment.
Right.
But for Ronda, it's it's much bigger because Hollywood is looking for the next action star, especially for the next female action star. Angelina Jolie, she's doing more of artsy type films. She has a movie coming out with Brad Pitt. Mila Jovovich.
And that's a good point, because she definitely was like the action star for a while. You know?
Yeah,
she did the Tomb Raider and all that. But
yeah, Mila Jovovich. She has. She's doing the last Resident Evil film that's coming out in January. Definitely looking forward to that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if she'll do any more action films after this. And Jennifer Lawrence, she did her last Hunger Games.
Hunger Games.
Yes, and actually they're doing a. I don't know if you heard, but they're doing prequels to the Hunger Games. They're gonna be coming out with prequel movies. I think it's a little too soon. Because they just finished the last two ones.
That's crazy. Yeah, they literally just finished it.
Yeah, and Jennifer Lawrence won't be in the prequels either. So
that's a whole different thing if you don't have the main star, you know.
Yeah, but I think it's prequels, and I think they wanted to that will lead to the first story, kind of like what they did with Star Wars. So, but personally, I'll go see Rhonda's movies. You know, I think she has potential.
Yeah. But so you think that even her acting career is riding on this in a way?
Oh yeah, and if she does get some acting jobs after if she loses the rematch, it might be one of those like direct to DVD and direct to Blu-ray. Movies. It won't be like the big screen box office movie type.
Right. I mean, I know that the big wigs at the studios would have to think about that stuff. I'm not sure I agree that she has done a bang up job in some movies so far. So I'm not sure I agree that it would be like, oh well, you're suddenly a nobody, so we don't think we could get, like, I don't think everyone would be saying that if they actually could cast her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. At the end of the day, that's Hollywood. It's the belly of the beast. I don't necessarily agree with some of the things. You know, it's a very cutthroat
business, but it also is based on more than just like, I mean, I don't know. A lot of the great action stars were never actually in the sports. You know, like that's the thing that some people forget. Now that there's been so much crossover. Like the great action stars, kind of started to do fighting promotion after they were big in action. Like, you know what I mean? Like action stars had their own fame and glory that they were going off of that had nothing to do with their athletic thing.
Yeah, I know, but as I mentioned before, it's it's the belly of the beast, and as Michael Corleone said in The Godfather, it's business, not personal.
Well, on that note.
Yep. Your segment?
Okay, yep. So I'm going to be doing another segment of Get Over Yourself. And this one, it's a little bit more nuanced than I'm actually saying "get over yourself" to someone, because I watched the weighing in of Ronda versus Home, and I've been thinking about that and how she, her fans were behind her because she is like calling her out on her fake nice act is what she called it. Yeah. I see your fake nice act. I'm calling you out, bitch, basically.
Yeah.
So...
I saw that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you heard how the fans roared at it, and then, but of course, Holly's side of the room was, silent. Whoever was on Holly's camp, you heard the silence. But, I think that the reason we like this is there's a moment for that. You know what I mean? So right now I'm kind of taking a different direction than I've usually taken this segment. I'm not saying that you have to get over yourself. In fact, the way they make their glory is by moments like that.
Oh yeah,
the way they make their glory is being completely confident. I think we like them. That's the other thing. I think we like them because they're completely confident and they call out bullshit. You know what I mean? So it's knowing when to turn it on and off, I guess. That's what I'm talking about now. When I say get over yourself, this segment today, I'm saying know when to turn it on and off. Because some of us don't know how to turn it on as well as they do, and that's why we look up to them. And I think we should look up to them for being completely confident and able to talk trash.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what sells tickets. That's what sells, pay-per-views. I mean, look at Mike Tyson. I mean, when leading up to that fight with Lennox Lewis, I mean, remember he had that big brawl in the press conference, and biting Lennox Lewis on his legs, and then afterward, he's yelling at the reporters, threatening to rape them, and he says, "I'll fuck you."
He's got some fire in the belly.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, actually, Mike said that he was high on cocaine. I read his book. He said he was high on cocaine when he did that.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and
sometimes it's got to be something. Sometimes it's got to be,
Yeah, because by that time Mike was really into drugs, marijuana mostly. And also look at the Aldo McGregor fight. I mean, when they were promoting the fight earlier in the year before Aldo pulled out because of a rib injury, they were at a press conference in Brazil, and McGregor was talking down to him and actually said, "You're gonna die" in his language. And then on top of that, he takes the championship belt off. Aldo's belt off the table and was like, "This is my belt. This is mine." Yeah, and Aldo was like,
"Oh man, it was on." Wasn't it?
Aldo was pissed, and even in Portuguese, Aldo said, "You asshole."
Right, exactly. So I mean, sometimes we have to go with it, and sometimes I think we also like them because they're a powerful person and they're not afraid of being a powerful person. I think that's actually the most important thing, no matter what you're doing. I mean, they do it every day, but I think it's the good thing about it is the lesson for us. No matter what you're doing, you should be a powerful person, but then also the thing I think a lot of us get stuck on, you shouldn't be afraid of being a powerful person either.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with talking trash, just as long as you back it up. I mean, for example, look, for example, Chael Sonnen. I mean, Chael Sonnen has had 4 title shots. First, it was in WEC for the WEC middleweight title. He fought Paulo Filho, and he was winning the fight, and then Paulo Filho caught him in a submission hold. Caught him in an armbar, and Filho won by submission.
Right.
Then he goes to the UFC. He gets a title shot against Anderson Silva, and he's beating him for 4.5 rounds. 5th round, seconds left. Anderson Silva puts him in a triangle armbar. Sonnen tapped out. Then it turns out he tested positive for TRT, and he comes back.
Another drug behind it all.
Yeah, he wins 2 fights, and then he has a rematch with Anderson Silva, and Anderson whooped his ass. And then he moves up to the light heavyweight division, fights John Jones. John Jones completely destroys him. And all throughout those fights, Sonnen was talking crap, saying how he would beat them, and he was going to do this and do that.
Yeah, right.
And just like the Buffalo Bills, you get, 4 chances to grab the brass ring, 4 times you come up short.
Interesting. So you're saying, like you said, back it up. You can have that thing and back up what you're saying. I mean, the problem with that is that they have to talk trash for a living.
Yes, of course. But of course, when losing those title shots, it goes to show you that who they really are. And losing those title shots, Chael Sonnen proved that, hey, he's just a mediocre fighter. He's a mediocre fighter, good wrestling, could talk trash, didn't have much of a submission game. He didn't embrace it until later. Striking, not really good on the striking. Even in that fight with Michael Bisping, Michael Bisping was outstriking him. I thought Bisping won that fight, personally. So, Chael Sonnen to me is he's just a mediocre fighter whose luck ran out. He talks pretty good on ESPN for SportsCenter when he's covering MMA fights. He's a pretty good talker.
Right.
Then. But as far as fighting goes, he's just a mediocre fighter.
So yeah, know when to turn it on and off. You know, now that he's announcing, or announcing is the word, right?
He does. He breaks down fights over at ESPN. He breaks down fights, and he says like he also gives news and stuff.
Right. So announcing and commentating. Now that he's doing that, he's more. I guess you'd say he's more in his element and whatever. And that's he was forced to turn it off, but he still turned it off and went towards something that he's more suited to.
Yeah, exactly. And also you have to know that, and when you're talking, there's just a line you don't really cross. I mean, like you and I were also talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, our former Celtic, Rajon Rondo, got suspended for one game.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually at a game against the Celtics. It was in Mexico City between the Sacramento Kings and the Celtics. He called the referee a faggot, because of a bad call, and he got ejected from the game. Turns out the referee is gay. I actually didn't know he was gay.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Rondo did apologize. He did apologize for saying that. But he says that it wasn't an aim at the LGBT. He says it was just I lost emotion and he lost his temperament and being competitive. And in basketball, I grew up playing basketball in the playgrounds and in school and stuff in the gym, and there was always trash talking like, "Yo, what's up, motherfucker? Or, fuck you, nigga, your mama," and all this stuff. And I grew up with that. I mean, I never used that word on the court or anything.
Right.
But it's even in today's world, people won't stand for that word. Mm-hmm. I mean, you won't. Your community won't stand for it.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly. I think the problem is, though, it's like part of our culture where we've been taught that you have to lob out an insult at any cost, like in that type of environment and the basketball thing. So if that's since he's actually gay, and it sounds like a rip on his personal life and who he loves. That's a very different thing. But I think the guy probably did it because he was trying to lob out another insult, something in his arsenal. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the problem is that that's pretty much the biggest weapons they give you in your arsenal is something that actually does mean something bad against gay people. That they don't realize that at the time when you lob that out as an insult.
Yeah.
But,
I don't mind comedians using it. I mean, because it's like, you and I get comedy and
exactly.
Dice Clay and Joe.
We've talked about this before. The whole all the racial tension in comedy as well, and the black comedians can say things that other people should never say. I actually am okay with that. I think we've talked about this that there's a way to go about it. There's a fine line, but. Comedians are they're very different role than anyone else. They're trying to bring comic relief and point out observations that are uncomfortable to the rest of us.
Yeah, and nobody should really take anything comedians say as serious. Like for example, with Michael Richards when he went on that tirade, that was a mental breakdown. Mm-hmm. And plus, from what I hear, he's really not he's more of an actor than a comedian. I mean, it's like Jim Norton said. He's not Jim Norton said in his comedy special Monster Rain about Michael Richards. He says he's nothing but a jack-off who spent 9 years sliding on the floor saying, "Hello, Jerry." That's basically what he is.
Right.
And what Tracy Morgan, what he said about about if his son came to him and said that he was gay, he would whoop his ass or do something.
Yeah, whatever he said.
But, and people were standing up for Tracy Morgan, but
Well, it depends on who you talk to on that one. I've heard that he got a lot of bad
Yeah, he did. It was more like a 50-50 thing. But, Joe Rogan said it best about Tracy Morgan. Here's Tracy Morgan. He's a guy who goes around and says, like, yeah, I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna get somebody pregnant.
Mm.
It's like, who takes him seriously?
Right. True. So yeah, I mean, like I don't know. It's weird because I don't think we should say that there are different standards or that we can excuse certain things. Like I don't think we should excuse things that have to do with hate speech, but there should be a little bit more. It should take things a little bit more in context than hate speech sometimes, and if it's comedians most of the time, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So like it's not that I'm saying that any of that is okay. Like to actually say something that's completely hateful of someo's life is, or something they can't control, like their skin color. And it's not to say that any of that is okay, but but like context matters.
Yeah, context matters, and plus the thing with Rondo. I mean, Rondo is a phenomenal player. I mean, I saw that when he won the championship with the Big Three.
Mm-hmm.
He was a great player. He has that Joe Dumars defense. Really reminded me a lot of Joe Dumars when Dumars used to shut Michael Jordan down.
Mm.
In fact, I gave Rondo a nickname. I used to call him the Thief because he kept stealing the ball. I was like, oh, he's a thief.
Right.
Yeah, he's a great player. Minus that he can't hit a 3-pointer to save his life.
Mm-hmm.
He's not that good of a 3-point shooter for a point guard, which is weird.
Right.
But he has a reputation for not getting along with people. Him and Doc Rivers had a big falling out.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't get along with Ray Allen when he was on the team either. When he went over to Dallas, he didn't get along with the coach Rick Carlisle.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, funny thing, it was to the point where one time Rondo actually parked in his coach's parking space.
Really?
Yeah, there was a special parking space at the stadium where they go to practice.
Yeah.
And Rondo parked in that space.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that guy's got a lot of balls.
A lot of balls, if nothing else. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So I mean, that's kind of the thing. Is it's like know when it's appropriate to lash out or whatever, but and like yeah, I mean, okay, what I can't not bring up, I guess, is so we talked about Rondo, but Seth Rogen. You heard about the whole thing. Maybe you haven't heard of the thing with the movie star Seth Rogen.
I didn't hear anything about Seth Rogen.
Well, I don't know. It was about a year or more ago, maybe 2 years ago. That anyway, there was some reporter, perhaps from TMZ or something like that, like some kind of cheesy entertainment reporter that was like chasing him, and he basically got really pissed off with the dude, and he did say something like "blow it out your ass, faggot." He actually said that. So anyway, but then what happened is he, in the aftermath of that, he decided to give, to hold a press conference, and he basically apologized about that and was really honest, and if I remember correctly, he was actually very tearful about it and said, said like I have so many people that are from the LGBT community, that, that's far from the last thing that I meant, and so anyway, I think he did it right. I think Seth Rogen did it right when he did that, because I'm not gonna hold it. I'm not gonna hold against someone if they say it like it's like hitting your hand with a hammer.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't hold someone against us for saying the F word when it happens. It's just how you react about it later.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think he did the right thing later to say that this actually is a bad word for the LGBT community, and I'm sorry about that, and I really was just angry at this reporter, and that's all that it was. Whereas I don't know what's going on with Rondo now.
Yeah, I mean, well, Rondo got the 1-game suspension, which people think is a slap on the wrist, but I think it's because Adam Silver, the new commissioner, it's sort of his first time dealing with it, I guess. But I'm sure the next time a player uses that word out on the court, they're probably going to get the book thrown at them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But, that's sort of the thing with words, and you know, it's just knowing when to turn it on and turn it off.
Exactly.
And now we're gonna get into our last segment of the show, which is called
Chew on This.
Yep, Chew on This. 2016 is upon us, and in the world of combat sports, I am so excited for this. First and foremost, Mom, just putting this out there, I am getting rid of Showtime.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna be. We're getting a new deal, and this is gonna allow us to watch HBO. We're gonna watch HBO and Stars.
All right. Okay. Okay.
Of course, with Showtime, I am gonna miss watching, Jim Rome on Showtime. Because I love Jim Rome, his forum discussions and interviews. He's amazing. He's one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast. He's one of the inspirations.
Right.
Also for Showtime, I am gonna miss their boxing matches. I mean, Peter Quillen, who lost the fight, he's on there. Mayweather Promotions, I think they're still doing fights on Showtime as well. Adrian Broner's on there. Actually, he has a fight coming up pretty soon himself, and so is Deontay Wilder. He has a fight coming up in January. On Showtime. So I'm definitely gonna miss Showtime. But the thing is, whenever on Comcast would do those, or they do those free previews for like a weekend or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Especially the last one I did. I was watching the HBO documentary on Frank Sinatra. And I was I watched a few documentaries. I saw a few some boxing on there. It was actually the Cotto versus.
I think you're getting to a very good point, and I want to know what that point is.
Well, the point is that I realized how much I missed HBO. Because I grew up watching HBO as a kid, World Championship Boxing, Bo and Holyfield, and Roy Jones Jr., and George Foreman, and De La Hoya, a little bit of Tyson fights, although most of the Tyson fights I saw on Showtime, when Tyson was over at Showtime.
Right.
But I really realized how much I missed HBO. And I really do miss HBO, and I'm glad to have it back. And plus, they have better comedy specials on there than Showtime. Yeah, and better documentary films.
I wouldn't doubt that.
Yeah, but for HBO, I can still see some good boxing matches on there. Canelo Alvarez is on there. In fact, for 2016, they said that Alvarez and Golovkin will meet in 2016. The thing is that they're having trouble getting together for negotiations for a fight. So they're each gonna take a fight before they fight each other.
Okay.
Yeah. So hopefully they'll both still have their title belts before they meet to decide who's the undisputed middleweight champion.
Okay.
Which personally I'm really not a fan of. I really want to see Golovkin. I wanted to see Golovkin versus Alvarez for Cinco de Mayo weekend. Because that's a good matchup for Cinco de Mayo weekend to see who's the undisputed middleweight champion. But unfortunately, this is the way the cookie crumbles, but it does lead to a rematch between Cotto and Alvarez.
Oh, that's always interesting. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I gotta say, if Miguel, if there is a rematch, if Cotto loses, Cotto should retire. I think the next fight Cotto has, whether it's against Alvarez or Quillen or whoever he fights,
right?
Miguel Cotto should retire if he loses his next fight. For so many years taking punishment, and he did have a good run with Freddie Roach as his new trainer, but the way he lost to Alvarez, I think the next fight he loses, he should definitely retire.
How many years has he been at it?
I'm not quite sure. I think he's been fighting since the late 90s, maybe. I know he's like 37.
Okay.
So
it has been a while. Like in terms of the length of the usual career for this type of thing.
Yeah, and he really is. He really is one of the great Puerto Rican champions out there. But I think people have questioned it because he's taken so much damage and stuff like that. But I say the next fight, if he loses his next fight, he should hang it up. He should be done. Manny Pacquiao, he's actually going to retire. He's got one more fight in 2016. They're aiming towards a fight in April. Don't know who it's going to be. They're saying it could be either Terrence Crawford, who's a junior welterweight. Could be a third match with Bradley, which I really want. I say let's close the book on that chapter. And last but not least, Amir Khan. Although that would be an interesting matchup as well. Personally, I want to see Bradley versus Pacquiao 3. They've had 2 fights. Bradley won the first fight, which was controversial. A lot of people said Pacquiao won that fight, which he did. They had the rematch. Pacquiao definitely won that. So I say let's close the book on that.
Okay. So you're talking about like the different networks and whatever. You said that you get you're going to get you used to get boxing on HBO. So as a fan of MMA, like I've heard you talk about boxing just kind of in the same light, but is it actually as interesting to you to watch boxing?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's just as interesting to watch boxing again because mostly because of the Mayweather fights. It started getting me back into it. Also because of Premier Boxing Champions, who's had a good first year. I mean, their first year this year they have blown it out of the park with great fights on NBC, ESPN, Fox, CBS, and Spike TV. I mean, Al Heyman is definitely doing something right. He is doing something right, and 2016 I think is going to be hopefully will be a much bigger year for them.
Yeah, nice. But anyway, so it is still it does still like keep you on your toes and stuff. Like it is still as interesting as engaging.
Well, yeah, exactly. Especially now with Mayweather, he's retired, and Pacquiao going to retire in 2016. It's going to be interesting to see what boxing does without these 2 big pay-per-view stars now. I mean, there's a lot of potential now for a lot of guys to become the new pay-per-view stars. I mean, Gennady Golovkin, he's sort of getting there. I think he's probably 2 big fights away from being in that spotlight. Adrian Broner, he's definitely on the way up. Daniel Jacobs, Deontay Wilder, who should be fighting Tyson Fury for the undisputed title. But of course, that's got to be worked out. So for boxing, it's going to be an interesting year for boxing. Hopefully the heavyweight division will have more of we'll have a resurface and new champions, new stars. As far as kickboxing goes, Glory Kickboxing moved over to ESPN. They're going to be showing fights on ESPN 3 and ESPN 2.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so since they're going to be on ESPN, that's like definitely a mainstream arm of like this whole of all the sports. So this is what I would ask you then. What do you feel that it actually makes sense to bring something like kickboxing into mainstream sports?
Yeah, it does. I mean, ESPN, they used to have kickboxing back in the 80s when it started, when ESPN first started with the PKAs, and then they did a little bit with K1, and with Glory. I mean, I don't understand. I guess the ratings weren't high up on Spike TV. I mean, that's sort of the. I mean, hopefully it can get turned around on ESPN because kickboxing is such an amazing sport, and there's so many stars out there from Joe Schilling to Melvin Manhoef and to Nikki Holskin and all these guys. But I mean, internationally, all around the world, they know them, but in America, it still hasn't caught on yet.
Right, exactly.
Unless it's like diehard fans, it's a cult following, but hopefully it will just catch on. Hopefully it can catch on with ESPN.
Do you worry that it would change it like too much? I mean, with all of these, with UFC becoming a lot more mainstream, with kickboxing, with boxing, do you? I guess boxing has always been kind of mainstream.
Oh yeah, it's been around for decades.
yeah. But I guess so I guess you've seen what happens with that. But these other two, do you ever worry that it's like that it was like more genuine when it wasn't mainstream, and like now it's going to change, or or is that actually what you want? Do you want it to be in the spotlight?
Yeah, I do want kickboxing to be in the spotlight. I want it there in the spotlight. I want their, I want the stars to have more exposure.
Right.
Bigger fights. Maybe do some pay-per-views
Mm-hmm.
if they can. And I think the way to do it is try to do some more. Try to focus some more shows in America. I mean, Gloria has done tons of events overseas, especially their last one over in Amsterdam, which is one of the main places for kickboxing. The Dutch Netherlands in Amsterdam. But try to focus more on the American market. Like try to like do some shows in like L.A., Vegas, New York. The good fighting cities. Right
exactly.
there.
Exactly.
So
you think they will change? That it's much more likely that that kickboxing would change mainstream sports, not that mainstream sports would change kickboxing.
Yeah, that sort of thing. As far as mixed martial arts go, the sport of mixed martial arts, I mean, there are some good fights coming up in the next 2 months. There's January 2nd. There's UFC 195. Lawler versus Condit. I'm seeing that fight over at Causeway.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm going to see that fight over at Causeway.
And that's pretty much going to be the first fight of the new year, right?
Yeah. In February, there's the rematch between Cain Velasquez and Fabricio Verdum for the heavyweight title.
Right.
UFC heavyweight title. That one's going to be good. Also, in that same month, there's the third and final fight between Hoist Gracie and Ken Shamrock. Two old guys. Listen, both these guys, they're out of their prime. It's, no disrespect to these guys because they're two legends, but I think after this fight, regardless of whoever wins, loses, or if the fight goes to a draw, those guys should never fight in MMA again.
Okay.
Yeah, those two guys need to sit down somewhere.
Right. But that is an interesting question, though, because, we've talked about it before, about the whole, peril of being a fighter or whatever, that, they have to retire young and whatever, and if you backslide, and start losing, then you might just be headed for a big descent. So, I mean, would it change it? Would it make it better, or would it even be interesting enough if they did more fights like that one, where older legends kind of take on each other?
Yeah, I can see why the diehard fans would want to see it. Because also the Hoist Gracie and Ken Shamrock were there for the first UFC. Hoist won it, and
right. So that's big history.
Yeah, it is big history. Shamrock versus Gracie. Two families of mixed martial arts just always fighting each other, but at this point, it's it's two guys past their primes. I mean, Shamrock is still fighting, but he's, he really hasn't been winning. He's been getting beaten. I mean, his legacy is tarnished, as far as I'm concerned. His legacy is tarnished beyond repair. Hoist Gracie, he hasn't really fought much since he won the rematch against Kazushi Sakuraba back at Dynamite USA with Elite XC and stuff. I have to remember that being on Showtime. Okay. And he's mainly just been doing seminars, for jiu-jitsu, and he's been showing up at Bellator and UFC events, but hasn't really been doing much fighting. And the fact that they can cook up this match, Bellator,
right?
It's just, look, I'm gonna watch it out of curiosity, but afterwards, both these guys should retire. They have nothing more to prove.
Right.
Those two need to sit down somewhere.
Right. So it sounds like you think no, that wouldn't be a good idea.
No, it just wouldn't. I don't want to see Dan Severn come back. I don't want to see Hoist Gracie come back. I don't want to see.
Right. It kind of goes to
Shamrock.
Shamrock. It kind of goes to the things we talked about on that one episode. We were talking about Jordan for one, and who was it? De La Hoya.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jordan De La Hoya. That whole thing that that you think he's been in too long and whatever, and that it's kind of like if Jordan were to try and keep playing basketball and that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean,
he's a legend, Michael Jordan. We want to remember him that way.
Well, yeah, I mean, Michael Jordan, I mean, as a matter of fact, I actually watched a few times his interview on Sports Century that comes on ESPN Classics.
Yeah.
And the guy he was talking about, one of the reporters was talking about it and about him coming back to the Wizards. He said, "Well, that's everybody's last memory when he did the shot against Utah." And he says, like, "Well,
Yeah.
that's everyone else's memory, but that's not Michael's memory," and stuff like that. But here's the thing: when Michael Jordan came back to basketball and played for the Wizards, I mean, there was a flash of greatness, but it wasn't the same Michael Jordan. His 3-point shooting was gone.
Right.
He would get mostly 23 or 20 points.
Mm-hmm.
There were some games where he would mostly get 8. The fewest he got was 8. You know, he had knee surgery. He had to get knee surgery. He injured his knee.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, clearly he was not the same Michael Jordan.
Right.
You know, and so and today, and there's even the debates of would Michael Jordan beat LeBron James or would he beat Stephen Curry or whatever. I mean, even today in one-on-one games, Michael Jordan would get destroyed. You know, he's put on weight. He's had knee surgeries.
Right.
Also, he's pretty big on the cigars too. If you ever catch him on the golf course, he's smoking cigars and stuff like that. He's a cigar aficionado.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's kind of what happens, I guess. You know, over time. You know,
yeah, and Oscar De La Hoya. You know, also De La Hoya was at the Aldo McGregor fight.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Oscar De La Hoya. When I first heard he was thinking about coming back, I was like, my response was no.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he should definitely stay retired.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, in the middleweight division, I mean, right now with Quillen and Andy Lee and Daniel Jacobs and Cotto and Alvarez and Golovkin, they are going to chew him up and spit him out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it would tarnish his already legacy. He's already been a world champion in multiple weight divisions. He's a Hall of Famer. I mean, now he's been battling alcohol and drugs for years, in and out of rehab. You know, and he's running Golden Boy Promotions. It's like, he's been sitting behind a desk for years now.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, but yeah, in a way, isn't that they like? Isn't that kind of the dream actually? In a way, isn't it to not be destroyed enough and whatever to go on to something else? Isn't that actually what they should do? What they would want to do? Like, I feel like if I was, if I cared about someone, had a relative who was, who was one of these big fighters, wouldn't that be what you'd want them to be able to do, is to go on to promoting instead? So what if they don't have more matches in the ring? Well, now they're actually, they have a longer life ahead of them to, go into promotions and whatever else, commercial deals.
Yeah, exactly. It's just knowing when to get out. I mean, Manny Pacquiao, he's got one more fight, and he's retiring after this, and that's good for Manny because, he's a politician over in the Philippines. He's running for office, and he's set for life.
That's a whole other thing that he can keep doing.
Yeah, exactly. And another fighter who should definitely retire, Sugar Shane Mosley. I mean, he beat Ricardo Mayorga, who's another guy who should, in a rematch with Mayorga, who was another fighter who should stay retire.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Shane Mosley, he's never going to be back to the Shane Mosley he was back in the day. He's just not.
Right.
But that's my thing for 2016, better fights, some new promotions, better pay-per-view fights, new stars, especially now that I have HBO, hey, I'm going to invite more people over for World Championship Boxing on there.
All right. Yeah. Awesome.
Oh, yes, exactly.
All right, so that's been Chew on This.
Yep, that's been Chew on This, and instead of ending it with Vios con Dios, we're going to end it with Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, and Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah and New Year's.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.